Namaste and good afternoon to everyone present here. My name is Jesselina Rana and I am one of the co-founders of Pad2Go. Pad2Go is a youth-led social enterprise working in the menstrual health sector in Nepal since 2018. Today we present to you our very first webinar called the Red Dot. The Red Dot aims to bring activists and individuals across the South Asian region working in the menstrual health sector. Today we have 8 countries being represented by 9 speakers, each of whom work within the menstrual health field in their country. They will be sharing their opinion, expertise, challenges, efforts that they have implemented in their own country. Our first speaker is Zahida from UNICEF Afghanistan. Zahida, thank you so much for being here. My first question to you is, UNICEF as a global organization works with both ministries as well as civil society organizations. Why is there a need to bridge the gap between civil society organizations and ministries, and how can these two different sectors work together to further the menstrual health management in any country? Thank you. Over to you, Zahida.
I mainly work for the washing school, and menstruation management is one of the key components under the washing school program. If I come today to your question that what UNICEF is doing, UNICEF work to promote and protect the right of children and women in Afghanistan, and we are one of the longest serving partner that work over 65 years in Afghanistan. That overall UNICEF have bringing basic education, particularly for basic education for girls, and health and nutrition services, child protection, water sanitation, and hygiene to the needy people in this country. And also addressing the inequalities in each of these areas. And UNICEF is mandated to safeguard the right of children everywhere and the right of women everywhere in this country, particularly in the remote areas and where the people live in emergency condition. And the mandate of UNICEF is rooted with the Convention of the Rights of the Child, that the Convention of the Rights of the Child is set with a universal and common goals, and which apply everywhere for every child. And also the goal of UNICEF or mandate of UNICEF is rooted with the Sustainable Development Goals, which which was adopted in 2015 by the world leaders, and its SDGs applied in all other countries, means that same goals applied in Afghanistan, it's applied in other countries as well. And UNICEF, overall UNICEF is supporting the girls' education, the adolescents, the gender mainstreaming in the program, under each program. And specifically since 2010, we are working on menstruation management with the Ministry of Education and with the Ministry of Public Health. These are our 2 main partners, including Ministry of Women Affairs. They are our key partners for the implementation of menstruation management in the schools and in the communities. And that your second part of your question was that why it is important to work with UNICEF, with the government and NGOs. Am I right?
Yes, Zahida. That was the question from our side.
Yeah, actually, UNICEF is providing technical support and financial support to the government and to the NGOs and other civil societies in the community level. And UNICEF recognized the importance of the engagement of NGOs as well as importance on engagement of the government partners. Of course, different government partners like Ministry of Education, MRRD, Ministry of Public Health, and Ministry of Women Affairs. These are the 4 key partners for the implementation of menstruation management. But role of everyone, role of government and role of NGOs are clear regarding their contribution, implementation, and monitoring in the field of menstruation hygiene management. And for example, and let me, yeah, UNICEF work with the Ministry of Education, uh, um, like as a owner of the washing school and as a owner of menstruation management program in the schools. Uh, before we start working on menstruation management on or any other program of UNICEF funded program with the government, we sign a 5 years country program with the government. And then we have a rolling work plan for 2 years with each relevant ministries. Based on that country program document, one of the key aspect or key element or key mandate of UNICEF is that to build the capacity of the government partners. Because and to ensure that the government has the ownership of the program, and they should be in the front line, because we have a commitment with the government that every program should be implemented under their umbrella, and we cannot go directly to start working with the NGOs. Therefore, Ministry of Education or government partners are always in the front line. On the other hand, it is equally important for UNICEF to work with the NGOs, as the need are huge in the area of the menstruation management. And we, after these 2 research, the CAP study in 2010 and image informative research in 2016, we found a lot of challenges that girls are facing in their schools and in the community. And they are facing with lack of information, lack of facilities, lack of sanitary pad for menstruation management. Therefore, we need support of NGOs, and we need to utilize the expertise of the NGOs in the area of menstruation management in the schools and in the community. Therefore, yeah, this is very much important. And with the government, we have the country program document and rolling work plan, but with the NGOs, we are signing the program, PCA, like PCA stand for the program agreement cooperation. Program cooperation agreement, and SSFA, or small funding agreement, which based on these 2 documents, we can work closely with the NGOs. But we are also expecting the NGOs to work together with the government, to report to the government, to consult them in each step of their program implementation. I can give you an example of how we are working together with the NGOs and with the government. It means we are not having separate plan with the NGOs or separate plan with the government. I can explain this in an example. For example, we commissioned 2 studies, the MHM-CAP study and also the image informative study research in 2016. Before we start the work in the ground, we started all the groundwork with the Ministry of Education. We got their agreement and their approval for conducting this CAP study. And we also included this in a joint work plan. And we developed these questionnaires and all these relevant documents with the support of Ministry of Education. And then in the second step, we got their agreement to work through an NGO in the schools, because Ministry of Education or government partners do not have such capacity to reach to everywhere and work everywhere. Then it is very comfortable for us to work through the NGO for the conducting this CAP study and also the image informative research. Once
Zahida,
the
I'm going to request you to kindly end it in another half a minute. We are beyond 5 minutes, requesting you to kindly end it. Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Zahida. If there's any questions for Zahida, we kindly request the participants to put it across on the chat. Thank you so much, Zahida, for highlighting the importance of collaboration between both the government as well as the NGO. As we know, government sectors work more towards the policy level, whereas a lot of NGOs that are working at the ground level have at times, a lot of impact on the ground, but it's not being translated into policy matters. So thank you so much for connecting and highlighting the fact that UNICEF as a big organization has been able to bridge this gap between NGOs as well as the ministries in Afghanistan, and hope we can translate these efforts in other South Asian countries as well. Next, we will have our second speaker, Munia from Bangladesh. Munia, requesting you to please unmute your mic. Thank you. So the question that we pose to you as from Pad2Go is, how are you ensuring men engagement as part of your efforts in the menstrual health sector? What challenges or differences do you see while engaging younger men or older men in patriarchal setups, or any other challenge in terms of men engagement as such during your efforts through ASTA in Bangladesh? Thank you.
Well, ASTA Foundation, we mainly focus on the normalization of menstruation in our society and country, and we hope for a future where it won't be considered as a taboo anymore. It's roughly been a year and a half since we started this journey. It's basically a brainchild me and my teammates came up with for a social business competition hosted by our university. We basically tried to design a self-sustainable campaign for the Rohingya camp set up in our country. So after the competition was over, I decided to turn it into a reality. Well, since both the co-founders of ASTA, including me, we were just first year and third year university students back then, so it was hard for us to start with a big scale launch. So we decided to stick to what our generation knows best, social media. So in our country, Facebook is a very popular platform where you can find people from all walks of life and background. So we started to make relatable and humorous contents with the help of outsourced and also in-house writers and artists. So we started to make unfiltered videos on a topic that is considered as a shameful taboo in our country. So we were honestly very overwhelmed with the number of responses and reactions we got online, both positive and negative, might I add. So I guess that's what we mainly are, an online presence that aims to normalize menstruation through a medium that our generation knows best. However, our plans also consist of services like a subscription box and also physical campaigns in schools around the country, through which we will try to question the inherent menstrual stigmas that exist around us. And also, we also stand by a motto that says that we bleed and we bleed proud. In Bangladesh, menstruation is not an openly discussed topic because of ignorant social norms and cultural beliefs. As a result, even girls are not fully aware of the do's and don'ts, let alone the men in our country. So there is a widespread belief that menstruating blood is polluted and is not pure. So since ASTA is a more active online presence, our content is not gender biased. Like even though menstruation is a female bodily function, we try to engage everyone irrespective of their gender. So to answer your question, I believe living in a patriarchal society, as harsh as this is going to sound, an issue isn't really actually an issue if it's not addressed or acknowledged by the male gender. So keeping that in mind, we have hosted online challenges with the hashtag #IamWithAstha that involved men in keeping a pad in their bags for the female around them or their peers around them. We also have a very interactive inbox where we answer questions on a regular basis. We also have, it's also a very, coming from a society like ours, it's also very shocking how most of the messages we get in our inbox is also from men. We get more messages from men than we get from women. So that is also a very positive outcome that we got from ASTA. We also make videos on menstruation menstruation that includes both men and women from everyday walks of life and not just actors and actresses. Our videos have often sparked a dialogue online. We also initiate and encourage this dialogue through our online and offline events. We have also hosted events that where we encouraged men to participate in this dialogue as well. But given that we live in a very conservative society like ours, where we are considered to be, in our language, oshusto, or in English, sick when you are menstruating. A woman who's menstruating is considered to be sick or to be impure and is kept separate. So given that we come from a society like that, it is actually very encouraging and also surprising when we see men trying to participate in dialogues like menstruation. But the challenges that we mostly face trying to preach this message through and to men are sometimes we get hate comments, a lot of hate comments, both in our inboxes and also our comment sections. We get even religious blackmails, and we also even get threats. We get we get threats that go as far as, okay, let's just not like get into that. We at ASTA, we are also there also have been cases where I will not be mentioning where and when and with whom, but there have been cases where a campaign or a workshop on menstruation was forcefully shut down by the men in the area, with threats to even hit them if necessary. So in a hot-headed population like ours, where people passionately defend these age-old beliefs and surround around menstruation, it is very tough to get through to them. But we are still hopeful because there's also a large number of the younger population who are eager to learn and rectify these age-old customs. We get tons of messages daily from young men and women wanting to volunteer for our campaigns and events. We even get messages from people who are not aware but are trying to educate themselves more in the process. I think it's also a demography thing. People living in the urban areas and under a certain educational level are at least open to the idea of learning and discussing the topic at hand. But people living in more remote areas are more rigid when it comes to these traditions and customs. Also in a country where our schools don't have sex ed, they skip the chapters of reproduction and menstruation and subjects like biology and physical ed. So it's a topic that's not being taught at home or at school or being talked about freely in the society. So that's where ASTA steps in. We don't just want to make it a lady matter, but also a conversation that can be openly discussed at home by everyone, irrespective of their gender. Our ASTA's presence is mostly very big online, and we are trying to reach out to the youth of our generation, to the younger generation, through the platform that they know best. So that's why I think our content that we make are very relatable, and we also add humor to it to normalize the entire concept of menstruation and to not encourage the stigma behind it. So that's basically how I'm guessing that that answers your question about how we're trying to ensure men engagement through ASTA.
Thank you, Munia. Thank you for adhering to the time as well. It's really good to know that ASTA is engaging a lot with younger men through social media platforms. And I think that is an advantage that the present generation has, which the older generation, was a little bit, it was challenging for them to understand how to reach a wide population of men. But I think with the social media, it also allows men to come out of their come out of certain zones where they're expected not to know or not to care about this, and anonymously also talk to ASTA and talk to people in your community about menstruation and learn and share knowledge as well. So thank you so much for your efforts. We will any questions to Munia can be addressed in the chat. She will be addressing them in the end. Thank you, Munia. Next, we have Yangde from Bhutan. I just want to give a short, just want to give some information that initially we had Miss Deki from Bhutan, who was also representative of the Ministry of Education from Bhutan. Unfortunately, however, there was a death in her family, and we've had to request Yangde from Bhutan. Yangde, requesting you to please unmute your mic.
Hello.
Hi, Yangde. Thank you so much. So, the question that Pad2Go has for Bhutan and for Yangde is, Bhutan has been seeing a lot of progressive conversations surrounding the blood tax. The blood tax also is the tax that is applied on menstrual health products, and there's a lot of conversation going around in Bhutan regarding this tax. Bhutan is also one of the countries to measure gross domestic happiness. So my question to you is, what are some of the positive steps or best practices that are being undertaken in Bhutan, whether at the policy level or at the ground level, in terms of the menstrual health sector? Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Kusuzangpola. My name is Yangde. I would like to apologize if my voice isn't clear because it has been raining for the past few days and the network here is really bad. So if the voice gets cut off, then you know why. Um, I'm part of this initiative called the She Decides, and from Bhutan I'm representing She Decides, and I've worked with Ministry of Education on menstrual health issues and programs for a couple of programs in the past. The first is it is not gross domestic happiness; it's gross national happiness. Bhutan, we want to measure our success. We want to measure our success on not how much money as the country we make, but are the citizens of the people happy. So in that way, the approach that Bhutan takes towards a lot of different things, it changes a little bit. When you talk about best practices, the first thing that I would like to talk about is introducing sex education and SRHR uh, in the nuns and monks in the monastic body. So Bhutan is a very spiritual and deeply religious country. We have more monks and nuns than we have army people in Bhutan. We have people fighting in armed forces. So there's a whole chunk of women that don't have access to the modern education system that Bhutan's offering. So recently, Her Majesty the Queen of Bhutan, she really supported that sex education and health education and just like menstrual hygiene should be promoted in the monastic body. And I was part of this project where we took pads and we did demonstration in different monasteries and nunneries and met the nuns, and we did like how to take care of pads, how to dispose of them. So that's one thing that really went well. So one of the other things that I'm really proud of that we just started off with is distributing pads to women in prison. There are about less than 100 women who are in prison in Thimphu, in the capital. And a few months ago, I visited them and we had a conversation about menstrual hygiene. There is water. It's just that sometimes because they're not allowed to go, and then so they're not pads are not easily accessible to them. So we did this whole campaign where we collected pads and we went to the prison and we did like demonstrations and we distributed pads to them. So that was really nice. Another thing is the government is supporting a lot of women entrepreneurs. Government is supporting entrepreneurship projects and also supporting women. So there are two women currently in Bhutan. One, she's making pads out of cloth pieces. So she's making washable cloths and reusable cloth. Pads, and another who I'm very close to, she makes pads which you can dispose later, and she has her own factory and it's like very clean, very hygienic, and she has been making pads and distributing them. I also recently took some to Kenya when we had a big conference there, and even the people who are not Bhutanese really like are comfortable using the pads and they like it. And I'm really proud of her because it's like in business, she employs women and then they're making pads and then it's being used by everybody. And recently there have been a lot of people who have been quarantined in Thimphu, and they have been quarantined in different hotels. So a lot of Bhutanese are flying back to Bhutan because of this coronavirus pandemic, and all of them are being quarantined. And because the health minister in Bhutan, she's a female and just like so far-sighted and so involved that she collaborated with them and then distributed her pads in all the places in the quarantine. All of them got pads and made sure that even in quarantine they were well taken care of. So these are just some of the things that I can think of right now. There is a lot of support from the government and from the minister because she is like hugely like involved in this and really tries to help out. Another conversation that I've been having with some of my friends and even some of the people who are in the health sector is how to make menstrual hygiene more sustainable to the environment, because of course there is reusable and washable, but then a lot of the time what we use in Bhutan is the pads that it's like Whisper and the pads that come from India. So you just like wrap it and throw it in the dustbin and it's not that sustainable for the environment. So we have been doing a lot of conversation around tampons and menstrual cups. I've been having conversations with a lady from America. She is working in the health in the hospital, in the main hospital right now, and she teaches students about menstrual hygiene and everything. So I've been collaborating with her where we can get menstrual cups and do demonstrations and encourage people to use that instead of using pads, which is more sustainable. But that will take a little bit of convincing, I think, because it's very new. Like shoving something inside your body is very new for the women here. So I think it's going to take some time for them to be comfortable with it. Another best practice that I can think of is in schools. In schools we have like health centers where girls, when there is period, they can just like take some time off, a period or two, or they can just go into this health sectors. Even me, when I was in school, I could just go into this small health rooms they have and just sit there, and there are pads readily available for them. And there are also school health nurses that help them if they are in too much pain and if they need like painkillers or something. So in school it's like very encouraged, and pads is used and everybody knows how to use it. The next step for Bhutan, definitely I would say, is the next conversation is sustainability around menstruation. Like how can it be more sustainable and more accessible, the menstrual cups, whether people will be willing to use it or not. And even menstrual cup, the ones that we get it from either India or Bangkok, mostly from Thailand, which is a bit expensive. Not many people can afford that. Just trying to see how we can make that a little cheaper and accessible to to girls and women in Bhutan. Yeah, that's all the points that I have in my book.
Thank you so much, Yangli. Thank you for highlighting that, a lot of your efforts have also been able to reach women in, nuns or in monasteries and, women in jails. I think that's something that a lot of us can learn from. A lot of us can actually focus on. Pad2Go especially has been wanting to look into that aspect, and we will definitely be in touch with you to understand the challenges and, the intricacies that go in implementing such a vast project. So thank you so much for your time. We now move on to our next speaker, Soumya from India. Soumya, requesting you to please unmute your mic.
Hi, Jesselina.
Hi, Soumya. Soumya, thank you so much for being here. So the question I have for you is, you're representing Project Bala. So Project Bala has been successfully expanded in 3 countries beyond India, namely Tanzania, Ghana, and Nepal. Congratulations, firstly, and that is a wonderful step. What was your biggest challenge in international expansion? How did you ensure cultural adaptation of your project in different countries, considering that menstrual health may have been approached or understood differently by each community? Thank you.
Thanks, Jesselina. So I'm going to give a quick introduction of Bala. Bala, again, like all of us here, it's a menstrual hygiene organization, and we're based out of Delhi. Our 90% of our work is actually located within India, across 16 states of the country. And as Jesselina just mentioned, we've also expanded into 3 other countries, namely Nepal, Ghana, and Tanzania. So Bala was an initiative or an organization that started in 2016. So we've been in operation for almost 3.5 years now. What we plan to do, or our aim and aspiration, is there needs to be an absolute, completely open conversation around menstrual health and hygiene within the communities. So as Munia was mentioning, that it needs to be a conversation that involves men. As Zaida was saying, that it needs to be a conversation where all the NGO partners and the government is working together to be able to bring a change within the communities. So we're also trying to accelerate this effort. We've developed a 7-step module that is disseminated into the communities through in-person workshops, as well as a lot of use of technology. And we work in sustainable menstrual absorbance. So as you know, we were just having a conversation where it was said in Bhutan and Bangladesh, there's a difficulty in making people understand about menstrual cups, because there's still a stigma associated with shoving an object up into your body. So what we are dealing with is reusable sanitary napkins, which we manufacture and develop ourselves. Each of our sanitary napkins can actually be used for 2 years. And so far, we've given out 4.5 lakh pieces to approximately 2 lakh women and girls across the country and the countries that I mentioned before. We've got 60 plus team members. All of these are young women and girls between the age of 20 to 28. And that's something that we're extremely proud of, to have created these community leaders of young women and girls that are spread across the country. And our aim is that by 2025, we have reusable sanitary napkins as the most widely available as well as used menstrual absorbent instead of the disposable pads. Because I'm pretty sure that all of the speakers must be very aware of this, but also for the listeners, that every single one of us every woman who's actually using disposable pads is generating 2 trucks of non-biodegradable, non-treatable menstrual waste in her lifetime. So what we aspire to do is have both awareness as well as the distribution of these sustainable pads together. We never do one without the other. So our awareness never happens without the pads, and our pads never go without the awareness. So to answer your question now, how have we expanded into all of these countries? So I think there is a threefold answer to this. So the first one, of course, is the customization of the project. Although the problem is similar across all of the countries that we're talking about, as well as every speaker here, we are all plagued by similar menstrual health issues and hygiene issues, but the extent of what causes the problem in different areas varies. For example, in Delhi, we see that affordability is not the biggest problem. Disposal is the biggest problem. However, the moment you move out of Delhi into slightly rural areas, accessibility and affordability become primary issues, but disposal doesn't, because they've found their own methods of disposing, as well as they've got their own waste management systems, etc. So similarly, even across countries, although the problems remain specific and standard, the emphasis on what is the main issue and recognizing that becomes of prime importance. So for that, we've got a standard set of surveys which we conduct. How do we conduct these surveys in countries which are located in different continents? Is again, as Zaida was mentioning, by developing effective community partners. So our first and foremost step is recognizing an organization, and they do not have to be dealing in menstrual health and hygiene. They can be an organization working in education, they could be working in rural development, livelihood generation, financial inclusion, anything, but just have access to the target audience, have access to the women and girls that we aspire to work with. So we do a training for them to conduct these surveys into the community. There's a stipulated time period where we collect data, we collate information, and we get an understanding of that particular area. The second step then is to do the proper training for the community partners to be able to disseminate any sort of information as well as awareness. For that, what we've done is actually developed a mobile app. So it's a very easy, accessible mobile application which can be downloaded on any smartphone. And this is a 5-level training, which also includes an interaction with the Bala core team, which is located in India itself. And that training can be conducted, and all the information that is essential is divided into these 5 levels. And every person who's interested can actually become a trainer for us. And the community training conversation becomes a lot more easy when you facilitate it through an app. Right now, we've only got it in 2 languages, but as we expand into other countries, we're hoping to do it in more languages as well. The third thing is the communication. So now we've got trainers who know exactly what needs to be done on ground, but what is the content that needs to be delivered? For that, we're really leveraging technology, and we've created digital libraries where all sorts of information is put on our digital library and can be accessed if you are a partner. So what we've tried to do essentially is really leverage technology to be able to expand into the communities, while also maintaining that hygiene and safety cannot be compromised. So the sanitary napkins are manufactured within Delhi in a centralized unit over here, with every single measure on safety and hygiene that we can take. Despite the fact that we're working in Tanzania or Ghana or Nepal, all the pads go from Delhi itself, so that we are extremely sure and certain about the hygiene levels. And this is how we've been able to maintain both the quality of the project as well as expand in different parts of the world. I think that's all that I'd like to say on this.
Thank you so much, Soumya. I think you brought up very interesting points about how, the bottom line of menstrual health is very similar across all regions, but then you also need to contextualize the need in terms of, urban areas or rural areas. And something that Pad2Go has also seen is that, in Nepal and in Nepal and other South Asian countries, we also have the very prevalent caste system, and the approach to menstruation that each caste takes has also been something of a very interesting point for us as Pad2Go to see and, to model our workshops accordingly. So thank you so much for that. Next, we have Aminat from Maldives. Aminat, requesting you to unmute your mic. Thank you so much. So Aminat, the question that I have to you is, Maldives has recently undertaken a very positive step to remove the tax from menstrual health products or pads. This in turn may have increased access and affordability of pads. As a coastal country, what was the impact that this has had on the pollution waste created by sanitary napkins? Are there any other efforts to reduce water pollution around your region? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jaslina. First of all, I would like to thank you for giving us this amazing opportunity, and it's so heartwarming to see so many inspiring speakers and organizations talking about a taboo subject like menstrual health management, and we are so grateful and honored to be part of this webinar with such amazing panel of speakers. Coming to your question regarding the removal of GST from pads, I would say yes, definitely with the removal of GST from sanitary napkins, it has increased the accessibility and affordability of pads for women. However, we believe that there are still a lot of more work that needs to be done and issues that need to be advocated for in terms of menstrual health management in the Maldives. Considering that it is still a taboo subject to be talked about here, being a coastal country, we are being hit hard with the ongoing climate emergency and plastic pollution, which is a huge problem in Maldives and globally as well. Awareness on climate change and impact is one of the area where Maldives is very focused on. Going back to our point to date, unfortunately, there hasn't been any researchers or studies that been done to identify the direct impact on different types of waste, such as sanitary napkins. And the other thing is still there, that is uh, mm, would be and also, even though the Waste Management Regulation Act, which was published in the year 2015, the waste segregation in the act, it says that waste segregation should be done, but it's not being done, and it's not been implemented in most of the islands in the Maldives, which results a lot of the waste ending up in our ocean. However, there are multiple organizations in Maldives which however, there are multiple organization agencies and individuals who are actively advocating for and working to address the plastic pollution problem in the Maldives. For an example, we have a community organization such as Zero Waste Maldives, who started their work to provide zero waste alternatives to single-use plastics and most disposables, within the aim of providing zero waste, low impact lifestyle for everyone. And there's another initiative which is named as Namunaba, which is an environmental conservation organization which also works to eliminate the single-use plastics in the island communities. However, we believe that there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, and we as an NGO that works towards the health and family well-being, it is important to note that our environment and our health are interlinked, and it is extremely important for us to work together and find a sustainable solution to address these issues. And hopefully, we believe that there's a lot of comprehensive works that can be done in the future. And coming into the question regarding you have mentioned that what are the challenges in introducing the menstrual cup in the Maldives. I would like to say that we work with UNFPA Maldives to conduct a program called Safe Space, which is for young people, in which we cover comprehensive sexuality education sessions. And we undertook this project to promote the environmentally friendly menstrual cups last year. And during this activity last year, we distributed around over 100 cups to our participants. In addition to this, as I have mentioned before, the Zero Waste Maldives also started their work last year, and they have been able to sell about 120 cups from their activities. The main challenge we face in promoting the menstrual cup is that the conversation with using menstrual cups have been perceived as a controversial, and it's been difficult conversation for many individuals to talk about. A lot of women and girls are hesitant to use menstrual cups, and most of the time people feel uncomfortable from switching to switch from one product to other. Being a Muslim country, the religious factor also plays a role here, along with social beliefs. regarding the insertion of the cup, and people are unsure what our religion, if our religion allows to insert a cup or not, and also it is and it would be expected many women and girls usually refuse to try this, as they some of them feel disgusted, and some may feel that it might be leaking also, and that they are not well aware of how to insert it. Like, even though we conduct a comprehensive sexuality education and we talk about the anatomy, many young girls and women are not comfortable with their bodies, and most of the time, for us, an organization who actively works towards SRH, we also, though we conduct CSE for young people, despite of our efforts, there's a lot of part of the population that is not being able to access this information, as we are a country where the different islands are located in the different areas of the country, which is a huge challenge in which we face while providing these kind of sessions. So the main organizations we take main organizations we collaborate are UNFPA and Zero Waste Maldives, when we introduce the menstrual cups in the Maldives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aminat. I think it's very interesting how you linked the zero waste efforts of different organizations, how they need to be linked to the menstrual health sector as well. And, despite Nepal not having any water bodies around, we're a landlocked country, but a lot of our waste is still getting accumulated in landfills and causing soil pollution. Or in rural areas, they burn the pads that we use. And so I think there's pollution all over. And I think, as you suggested, menstrual cups is a very interesting way to combat single-use plastic. But then again, it comes with its own cultural challenges, which I think it's great to learn from you and your practices, and from other organizations, how they've been able to introduce it. I mean, some of the challenges are very similar across South Asia in terms of, religious dialogues with menstrual cups, or culturally taboo, or, concepts of virginity coming into issue. So thank you so much for bringing up the issue. Next, we have Sumanji from Nepal. Sumanji, एकचोटि तपाईले आफ्नो माइक्रोफोन अनम्युट गरिदिनु होला.
हजुर.
Sumanji, thank you so much. So just a small information that I would like to give out is that Sumanji has requested to speak in Nepali. So I would initially be asking him the question in both English and Nepali. He would be responding in Nepali and I would be translating it for him. सुमनजी, म पहिला प्रश्न चाहिँ नि इङ्ग्लिस र नेपाली दुवैमा सोध्छु, तपाईले त्यसपछि तपाईको जवाफ दिन सक्नुहुन्छ र त्यसपछि मैले यो ट्रान्सलेट गर्छु. Sumanji, as a trans man, what has your experience been in the menstrual health sector? Has there been any discrimination or challenges that you as a trans man have specifically faced, or any other issue that you would like to bring up? A lot of the times, transgender men are left out of conversations regarding menstrual health. सुमनजी, तपाईको महिनावारीको क्षेत्रमा अहिलेसम्म के खालको अनुभव भएको छ? धेरै जस्तो समयमा हामीले यो महिनावारीको कुरा गर्दा दिदी बहिनी, महिला दिदी बहिनीहरुको कुरा मात्रै गर्छौं र पारालिङ्गी पुरुषहरुको चाहिँ नि आवाज उठेको हामीले र हामीले स्पेस पनि प्रोवाइड गरेको छैन जस्तो लाग्छ हामी भन्दा ठूलो समाजले चाहिँ नि. तपाईको अनुभवमा के खालको भेदभाव या चुनौतीहरु आएको छ तपाईको महिनावारीको अनुभवमा एज अ पारालिङ्गी म्यान? थ्यांक यू.
नमस्कार, मेरो नाम सुमन तामाङ, म ट्रान्समेन हो. सेक्सुअल एन्ड जेन्डर माइनोरिटिज कमिटीलाई बिलोङ गरेर चाहिँ म आजको यस कार्यक्रममा उपस्थित भएको छु. खासमा यो मेन्स्ट्रुएसन हेल्थ म्यानेजमेन्टको जुन आजको यो कार्यक्रम छ, यसमा चाहिँ म ब्लू डायमन्ड सोसाइटी एउटा यस्तो संस्था हो जुन 2001 सालमा स्थापना भएर चाहिँ यो एलजीबीटीआई राइट्सको लागि चाहिँ निरन्तर रूपमा काम गरिरहेको छ. अहिले जुन हजुरले प्रश्न गर्नुभयो त्यसमा चाहिँ के छ भन्दाखेरि अब लामो समयदेखि हामी ब्लू डायमन्ड सोसाइटी अरू महिलावादी संस्थाहरूसँग अथवा महिला अधिकारको क्षेत्रमा काम गर्ने, मानव अधिकारको क्षेत्रमा काम गर्ने सङ्घ संस्थाहरूसँग मिलेर नै काम गरिरहेको हुन्छौँ. तर यो मेन्स्ट्रुएसन हेल्थ म्यानेजमेन्टको कुरामा चाहिँ हामी यता कदा छुटिरहेको हुन्छ. हामीलाई चाहिँ यो मेन्स्ट्रुएसन हाइजिन म्यानेजमेन्टको कुराहरूमा चाहिँ उहाँले छुटाइराख्नु भएको हुन्छ होइन। अहिलेसम्म मेरो अनुभवमा अथवा मैले थाहा पाएसम्म यो गभर्मेन्ट सेक्टरबाट पनि हामीलाई चाहिँ यस विषयमा चाहिँ त्यति साह्रो कुनै पनि कार्यक्रमहरूमा चाहिँ कुनै पनि एक्टिभिटीहरूमा चाहिँ सहभागी हुने मौका पनि पाइरहेको अवस्था छैन। एसआरएचआरमा चाहिँ हामीले अरू संस्थाहरूसँग मिलेर युथहरूसँग मिलेर कामहरू गरिरहेको छ, तर यो मेन्सुरेसनको कुरामा चाहिँ गरेको छैन। अनि त्यसमा पनि अब हामी जस्तो ट्रान्समेनहरू जसलाई चाहिँ अब बायोलोजिकल्ली फिमेल भए पनि हाम्रो जेन्डर चाहिँ होइन, हाम्रो भनौँ न अनुभवहरू, हाम्रो फिलिङ्सहरू चाहिँ अलिकति फरक भइदिँदाखेरि हामी आफूलाई नै विविध खालको समस्याहरू नै भोग्नु परिरहेको छ। त्यसमा अनि अब नेपालको कन्टेक्स्टमा सरसर्ती हेर्ने हो भने अब विभिन्न क्षेत्र, भौगोलिक क्षेत्र र जातीयगत हिसाबले पनि हेर्ने हो भने अब हाम्रो यो तामाङ गुरुङ मगर यो मङ्गोलियन कम्युनिटी भनौँ, मङ्गोलियन यो समाजमा चाहिँ त्यति साह्रो यो छुवाछुत अथवा यो मेन्सुरेसनको बेला चाहिँ गरिने व्यवहारमा त्यति फरक छैन। हाम्रो चाहिँ नर्मलै हुन्छ, त्यस्तो साह्रो यो पर राख्ने भन्ने पनि हुँदैन। तर अझै पनि यहीँ म जुन ठाउँमा बस्छु, झापामा बस्छु म, त्यहाँनिर पनि हाम्रो क्षेत्री ब्राह्मण कम्युनिटीमा चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भने अब बाहिर बस्नुपर्ने महिलाले फर्स्ट टाइम हुँदा 21 दिनसम्म आफ्नो घरको धुरी नहेरी, बुवा आमाको अनुहार नहेरी बस्नुपर्ने हुन्छ होइन। अनि अरू बेला चाहिँ नर्मली 5 दिनसम्म चाहिँ उसले खाना पकाउनु, पूजा गर्नु, अनि बुवा आमालाई अथवा फ्यामिली मेम्बर्सहरूलाई चाहिँ उसले छोकोहरू खानु हुँदैन, त्यो खालको छ। त्यो एउटा महिलामै हाम्रो रूढिवादी, हाम्रो परम्परागत सोचले गर्दाखेरि भएको एउटा समस्या छ भने हामी जस्तो ट्रान्समेनहरूलाई एकदमै गाह्रो छ होइन। जस्तै हामी जस्तो व्यक्तिहरूलाई चाहिँ जुन द रेड डट भन्ने यो जुन अहिले छ यो लेखिएको यो कार्यक्रमको, त्यसमा चाहिँ अब जस्तो हामी जस्तो व्यक्तिहरूमा चाहिँ त्यस्तो कुनै धब्बाहरू देखियो के भने चाहिँ एकदमै मजाक उडाउने होइन, साथीभाइहरूले पनि बेइज्जत पिलाहरू गर्ने, अनि फ्यामिली मेम्बर्सहरूलाई पनि हामीले अब खुलेर कुराहरू गर्नु नसक्ने त्यो खालको छ। स्टार्टिङमा मैले आफ्नै एक्सपिरियन्स सुनाउँछु। स्टार्टिङमा मैले फर्स्ट टाइम मेन्सुरेसन हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ मैले कसैलाई पनि भन्न सकिनँ। अनि त्यो बेला चाहिँ अब यो प्याडहरूको अहिलेको जस्तो व्यापक चल्ती चलन थिएन, त्यति बेला हामीले कपडाहरू युज गर्थ्यौँ। अनि त्यो गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब खुल्ला ठाउँमा सुकाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ अब अरूले देख्छ भन्ने हिसाबले हामीले चाहिँ एकदमै भित्रभित्र सुकाउँदाखेरि चाहिँ राम्रोसँग त्यो घामको किरणहरू नपरेर त्यसले चाहिँ अब कति असर गर्छ भन्ने कुराहरू पनि हामीलाई थाहा थिएन। त्यस्तो खालको समस्या मैले मात्र होइन, मेरो साथीहरू, म जस्तो साथीहरू धेरैले भोग्नु भएको छ। अनि त्यस्तै गरेर अझै पनि अब सुदूरपश्चिमतिर छाउपडीहरू बस्नु बाध्य छ हाम्रो साथीहरू होइन। अनि त्यति मात्र होइन, जब हामी यो किराना पसलमा अथवा हामी चाहिँ यो क्लिनिकमा प्याड किन्न जान्छौँ, त्यति बेला चाहिँ हामीलाई फर्स्टमा हाम्रो बाहिरी एपिरेन्सको आधारमा चाहिँ के चाहियो भाइ तिमीलाई भनेर प्रश्न गरिने गर्छ, र हामीले प्याड भन्यो भने चाहिँ तलदेखि माथिसम्म हेर्ने र उनीहरू खास खुसुस गर्ने खालको व्यवहार गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीलाई एकदमै लज्जित महसुस हुन्छ त्यस्तो बेलामा पनि। त्यो छ होइन। अनि अझै पनि अब हेल्थ चेकअपहरू गर्नु जाँदा पनि उनीहरूले चाहिँ हामीलाई हाम्रो बाहिरी एपिरेन्सको आधारमा सुरुमा नै हाम्रो त्यो कुर्जीमा मेल लेखिदिएको हुन्छ, अनि टिक लगाइदिएको हुन्छ मेलमा। अनि हामीले भित्र गएर हाम्रो कुनै गाइनो सम्बन्धी केही प्रब्लम छ भने चाहिँ उनीहरूले यो चाहिँ कसरी पोसिबल भयो भनेर, अनि अब इन्सुरेसनको कुरा गऱ्यो भने यो कसरी हुन्छ भनेर त्यहीँनिर पनि विभिन्न किसिमको हुन्छ नि, उनीहरूलाई नै कौतूहलता हुने, अनि ट्रिटमेन्टको साथमा हामीलाई इन्टरभ्यूहरू डक्टरले लिने त्यस्तो अवस्थाहरू छ। एकदमै गाह्रो छ। अनि अब जुन कार्यक्रमहरू पनि अघि नै कुरा भयो, हामीलाई चाहिँ अब जस्तै यो हाम्रो कम्युनिटीलाई पनि समावेश गरेर चाहिँ कुनै कार्यक्रमहरूमा चाहिँ हामीलाई त्यसरी सँगै लगिएको छैन, तर लानुपर्छ। र हाम्रो साथीहरू पनि अहिले जसरी मेन्सुरेसन हेल्थको कुरामा कोही पनि बोल्नलाई चाहिँ एग्री हुनुहुन्न, किनभने कति साथीहरूले चाहिँ हर्मोन थेरापी लिनुभएको छ होइन, हर्मोन थेरापी गर्नुभएको छ, जसको चाहिँ दारी जुकाहरू आइरहेको छ, तर उनीहरूको कसैले पाठेघरहरू चाहिँ फालिसकेको छ अब विभिन्न प्रब्लमहरू आएर भने, कतिले चाहिँ नफालिकन पनि हर्मोन थेरापी लिइराख्नु भएको छ। त्यो बेला पनि उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ मिन्स हुँदाखेरि चाहिँ पुरुष मान्छे मिन्स भयो भनेर एक प्रकारको त्यहीँनिर पनि यो केटी मान्छे हो या केटा मान्छे हो भनेर त्यहीँनिर भेदभावहरू चाहिँ भएको छ होइन। त्यो खालको समस्या छ भने एक त जस्तै अब मलाई पनि मिन्स भएको मन पर्दैन, म आफ्नो यो जस्तै पाठेघरहरू फाल्न चाहन्छु, तर यसमा चाहिँ भनौँ न लिगलाइज छैन, इलिगल जस्तो छ। मेरो आफ्नो शरीरको अङ्ग मैले फाल्नलाई मेरो आफ्नो इच्छाले पनि त्यो पाउँदैन हैन, गाह्रो छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि अब हामी आफ्नो गर्लफ्रेन्डहरुसँग पनि यो कुराहरु चाहिँ अब हाम्रो गर्लफ्रेन्ड हुन्छ उनीहरुसँग पनि हामीले यो कुरा चाहिँ खुलेर गर्नु चाहिँ सकिरहेको हुँदैन हैन। अनि अब प्याडहरु किन्नलाई नै गाह्रो हुन्छ। पहिलेको तुलनामा अहिले अलिक फरक छ किन डिपार्टमेन्टल स्टोरहरुबाट चाहिँ हामीले राम्ररी नै सहजतापूर्वक नै उपलब्ध गराउन सक्छ। तथापि अझै पनि त्यस्ता धेरै समस्याहरू छन् जुन चाहिँ हामीले खुलेर कुरा गर्न सकिरहेको हुँदैन। हाम्रो साथीहरु नै कतिजना अब यही प्रोग्रामको लागि पनि धेरैजना साथीहरूले चाहिँ हैन अब तपाई बोल्दिनु यो बोल्दिनु तिमी बोल भन्ने खालको कुराहरू यस्तो खालको चाहिँ आउँछ। अझै पनि हिचकिचाहट छ। हामीले पनि अब आफ्नो साइलेन्स चाहिँ ब्रेक गर्नुपर्छ। भर्खर हामीले इन्टरनेसनल डे अगेन्स्ट होमोफोबिया बाइफोबिया ट्रान्सफोबिया भनेर एलजीबीटीआईहरुको एउटा चार्टको रूपमा मनाउँछ। हामीले त्यो मनाइसकेको छ। त्यसको थीम हाम्रो ब्रेकिङ द साइलेन्स रहेको छ। हामीले साइलेन्स ब्रेक गरेन हामीलाई यो हुन्छ यो नेचुरल हो भन्ने कुरालाई हामीले एक्सेप्ट गर्न सकेन र हामीले महिला अधिकारवादीहरुसँग मानव अधिकारवादीहरुसँग मेन्स्ट्रुएसन हाइजिनको बारेमा चाहिँ हामी पनि सँगसँगै काम गरेन भने अझै भोलि चाहिँ अझै धेरै क्रिटिकल प्रब्लम्सहरु आउने चान्सेसहरु हुन्छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले यो कुरालाई चाहिँ अब हामीले लुकाएर हैन खुलेर नै अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ जस्तो लाग्छ। किनभने हाम्रो धेरै साथीहरु चाहिँ मलाई हुँदैन अथवा उनीहरु चाहिँ मलाई यो सरी मेन्स्ट्रुएसनलाई चाहिँ कसरी स्टप गर्ने भनेर विभिन्न औषधिहरु लिइराख्नु भएको हुन्छ। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि हामीले चाहिँ त्यो गर्ने होइन कि अब हामी खुलेर अगाडि बढ्नुपर्छ र सँगसँगै जसरी अरू देशहरुमा विभिन्न सेक्टरसँग मिलेर काम गरिराख्नु भएको छ त्यसरी नै हामीले जसरी अहिले SRSR को काम गरिरहेछौँ त्यसरी नै काम अगाडि गर्नुपर्छ र हामीले स्थानीय तहमा पनि गएर यो बारेमा खुलेर कुरा गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने चाहिँ मलाई लागेको छ। र अरू चाहिँ अब समग्रमा अरू धेरै च्यालेन्जेसहरु हुँदै पनि मेन्स्ट्रुएसनमा चाहिँ यही अब हेल्थ चेकअपदेखि लिएर यो प्याडहरु किन्दाको समस्या अनि यो हामीले अब प्याडहरु एक्सेस नहुँदाखेरि कपडाहरु चाहिँ अब बाहिर मजाले खुलेर सुकाउन नसक्ने अवस्थाहरुले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ मेन्स्ट्रुएसन हाइजिनमा चाहिँ हामीलाई धेरै नै समस्या भएको छ हामी जस्तो ट्रान्समेनहरुलाई। त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ अब सबैले हामीले बुझेर सँगै यसरी मिलेर चाहिँ काम गर्यो भने अझै राम्रो हुन्छ होला भन्ने आशा राख्दै मेरो आफ्नो भनाइहरु यही अन्त्य गर्छु। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सुमनजी तपाईको छोटो मन्तव्यको लागि। म अब चाहिँ नि इंग्लिशमा यसलाई ट्रान्सलेट गर्न चाहन्छु। Thank you all for listening to Sumanji. For those who do not understand Nepali, I will be translating Sumanji's experiences and his short information that he provided right now. Sumanji is a trans man representing the Blue Diamond Society. Blue Diamond Society is an organization that was established in 2001 to work in the LGBTQI sector to advocate for the rights of sexual and gender minorities. Blue Diamond Society, as well as Sumanji, has been working with a lot of feminist and women-focused organizations, and a lot of work that they have been doing has been collaborative work. However, he does mention that when it comes to menstrual health, most of the times, transgender men are left out of this conversation of menstruation. Saying that menstrual health, he also mentions how when the government focuses on certain, programs for menstruating individuals, a lot of the times transgender men are completely left out of this conversation. When there's awareness programs or government relief efforts, transgender men, their experiences are completely left out of this question. So even if they are biologically, their process within their body is that of the female anatomy, but out their exterior and what they identify is with the male gender. And a lot of times, what they also face, the crucial challenges that they are facing right now in Nepal as transgender men. Number one is access to pads themselves. When they are going to go purchase pads, he mentions that when he's purchasing pads, a lot of the times the people who are selling the pads, question him, who are you buying these pads for? And then look at him up and down and question, who is he buying this pad for? And a lot of, conversations between the sellers themselves, making it challenging and sometimes shameful for certain transgender men to actually go and approach and have access to menstrual health products. The other challenge that he mentions is that while going to gynecologists for visits, so a lot of the times, even though transgender men have had hormone therapies to help them with the beard and with the exterior appearance of that of a man, internally, a lot of the times, a lot of them have not not had sex and reassignment surgery. One, because it's very costly, and second, there being a lack of knowledge whether it is legalized or illegalized in Nepal is also an issue that is pertinent right now. So when transgender men, or when, for example, Sumanji had approached gynecologists, there is always a question of, why are you coming here? Why are you in the gynecologist's room? Why are you coming to visit this doctor? Without sort of understanding the realities of transgender men and the challenges that they face. The second is that because there is a difficulty in accessing the sanitary napkins like Whisper or Safety from the commercial market, a lot of the times transgender men also use cloth pads. Now, using cloth pads definitely is promoting a safer environment, but a lot of the time there is also a challenge of where to dry it. Now, when transgender men are drying these cloth pads, which may be blood stained or which may have certain stains on them, after washing them, there's always a fear of someone teasing them about it, some sort of backlash coming. So they end up drying them in less hygienic places, and the question of infections arising is always there. So Sumanji's main focus with regard to menstrual health and transgender communities is that, firstly, transgender men are left out of conversations even by a lot of feminist and human rights organizations. We need to work together with the government, with organizations, and make it inclusive for sexual and gender minorities. The second being access to pads, because there is not a normalization of conversation of transgender men and menstruation. A lot of times their access to pads also becomes very difficult. So thank you so much, Sumanji. Thank you everyone for listening to the translation. I hope I was able to cover everything. In case not, we can again have your perspectives during the question and answer round. Thank you. Next, we have Shubhangi from Nepal. Shubhangi, requesting you to please unmute your mic. Great. So Shubhangi is also one of the co-founders of Pad2Go with myself. The question that I have for Shubhangi is, as menstruation is a social topic or a biological topic, why did you establish a social business model? And how does social work and business go hand in hand together? And what are some of the major challenges as a youth-led social enterprise that you are facing? Thank you.
Thank you, Jessalina. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shubhangi Rana, and I'm one of the co-founders of Pad2Go. So Pad2Go is a social enterprise that promotes menstrual health management, and we started in 2018. In order to promote menstrual health management in a more holistic manner, we have a threefold approach. So number one being access to sanitary pads through our sanitary napkin vending machines. Also being the first of its kind, we have been able to install 120 machines in almost 6 out of 7 provinces of Nepal. So a machine itself does sustain 200 girls and 200 menstruating individuals. So 120 machines right now are sustaining 24,000. Number two, we also go to schools and colleges and have interactive sessions with both boys and girls and people of all gender. So what we realized through our interactive talks is that, these young boys, especially like young boys and young men, were never given an opportunity to talk about menstruation, were never taught about menstruation, due to which there's this ignorance and there's this awkwardness in them, and they start teasing their young fellow classmates who are menstruating, due to which, again, this does add up to a greater stigma. So biologically, yes, you can say, menstruation is a menstruating individual's issue, but again, it is our society, it is our cultures, and we ourselves as an individual who has been able to, take this normal biological process to such an extent, to such a stigma, that now it has become the society's issue. And number three is that being a social enterprise, 10% profit from all the pads, from all the machines that we've installed, and all the profits from the pads are given back to the society through our, by constructing toilets in schools of rural areas. So for the year 2018 and 2019, we have decided to install these machines and also construct the toilets in Bajra. So now Bajra is in the far west part of Nepal, where, the menstrual taboos are very prevalent. Taboos like Thaupati is still prevalent in Bajra, due to which young girls don't go to school and miss school for like 4 to 5 days a month. And then this also starts, adding up to them just dropping out of school altogether. So this has become a vicious cycle. We also realize that, in Nepal, there is this vicious cycle. Maybe this is something similar in all South Asian countries as well. This vicious cycle also hinders a menstruating individual's health, education, empowerment, and participation. So now coming to the question as to why we did start Pad2Go as a social enterprise is something that, we always get, because it is very skeptical to, start a organization that is focusing on something so social, something that has been engraved so deeply in our society, and taking it in a business model. Now, before I do answer that, I would just like to say what a social enterprise is. So social enterprise, like a business, we do make profit, but again, the difference between a social enterprise and a conventional business is that in a conventional business, the profit is given back to the shareholders or even the investors, right? But again, in a social enterprise, the profit that we do make is reinvested back to the society, and that's where we are different. So one of the reasons that we started it as a social enterprise is the fact that we wanted our organization to be financially sustainable. So when Jaslina and I, we both moved back to Nepal after finishing our graduation, we did not have so many connections or even networks to to find funding, or even to ask people for help to actually start an NGO in this field. And that's one of the reasons we started it as a social enterprise. And number two is the fact that we really wanted to promote youth employment in Nepal. So now, along the way, talking to so many young individuals, we've realized that there are so many young people like all of us who have these great, brilliant ideas, who want to give back to the society, but again, are financially constricted. So as Pad2Go, we also want to, start this idea that you can give back to the society and also sustain yourselves. And we want to start promoting the idea of social enterprise, which still is very new in Nepal. And again, the one of the few challenges itself is the fact that Pad2Go is a women-led organization run by young women in a patriarchal society, fighting for social taboos that have been deeply rooted in our society, and this itself has become a challenge. But again, along the way, I think we have had a lot of help from organizations and a lot of help from the Nepali citizens, due to which we have been able to reach where we are now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shubhangi, for putting across your views in within the stipulated time. Something I'd also like to add about Pad2Go is that we want to make sure that our efforts are not limited to the urban area. We sort of wanted to, from the very beginning, we wanted to expand to both rural and urban areas. And for that part, most of our machines are outside of Kathmandu. The lowest number of machines is within Kathmandu, and we've also been able to reach 6 out of the 7 provinces in Nepal. Thank you so much, Bangi. Next, we have Sumaira from Pakistan. Sumaira, requesting you to please unmute your mic. Thank you. So, Sumaira, coming back to the topic of COVID now, not coming back, actually starting the topic of COVID and the pandemic. And this was something that, we wanted to ensure was addressed. And we've been seeing a lot of your work with regard to relief efforts during the lockdown in Pakistan. So our question for you was, how has your organization adapted your working model to the current global pandemic? Your relief work and outreach is helping a lot of menstruating individuals. How can governments aid and assist relief work volunteers during these challenging times? Thank you.
Hello, Jaslene. This is Sumaira Lokanwala. Hello, everyone. This is Sumaira Lokanwala from Her Pakistan. Her Pakistan. I would like to give a small introduction about the organization and the work that we do. I am so sorry, my video somehow doesn't connect. Oh yeah, it is connected right now. So Her Pakistan is a not-for-profit organization that aims to transform girls and women and boys and men into a healthy, empowered, and resilient individuals to face the world with more confidence by providing them with knowledge, skills that will enable them to create a safe and healthy future. Currently, Her Pakistan has 3 programs which are running in the community and online. Our first program is Menstrual Hygiene Drive, where we organize awareness sessions in the heart of the underprivileged communities, where we meet women of all ages and backgrounds and discuss about the natural transition of girlhood to womanhood, menstrual hygiene management, puberty, and associated physical, emotional, and behavioral changes. The second program is the School Puberty Education Program. And in the School Puberty Education Program, we help prepare young boys and girls for the puberty and menstruation early on. This program is designed entirely on the basis of how school works, and it is designed in a holistic manner where teachers, parents, school managements are trained simultaneously. For when Her Pakistan and the team is out of the program, they are still well equipped to answer these young people who are growing up. The third program is Oh My Period. Oh My Period is a digital community on Facebook. It is socially for women only, because in Pakistan there is a huge taboo of trans men and trans women. So it is ideally it should be for more people, but it is currently now only catering girls and women to talk about everything related to menstruation. They're learning from each other. It is a platform to socially interact and for experiential learning for menstruation. We founded ourselves in May 2018, and since then we have impacted more than 15,000 people with our puberty education programs in 10 different communities and different schools. However, for Oh My Period, we are more than 10,000 people learning from each other across the globe. Coming to COVID, since the pandemic response in Pakistan, the entire supply chain is disrupted. And for menstrual health products and imposed lockdowns, it is impossible for our daily wage earners to take care of their menstrual health needs. And women are making tough choices between buying breads for their children and buying sanitary napkins. So this would leave approx 28 million women of reproductive age in Pakistan without access to hygienic products and services. So Her Pakistan initiated its COVID relief campaign to support these individuals with the menstrual health needs. We have supported about 2,000, more than 2,000 periods, and will be serving more. We have recently started to serve our frontline health workers with menstrual cups, because while they wear all the PPE equipment, they are not allowed to leave the place and get out of it and change their pads into new pads. So we are initiating the idea of using menstrual cup in hospitals and other frontline health worker for other healthline workers. About the government does have programs for relief for people, but it is mostly catered for food and health. But since menstrual health was never the agenda of I would just say, since menstrual health is never the essential agenda for the government ever before, like in other countries, like in Afghanistan, like in Bangladesh, like in Bhutan, it is similar in Pakistan. So we were never considered as menstrual health was never considered as an essential part earlier, and even in the COVID relief campaign, government is not taking it as seriously as possible. So the Her Pakistan COVID relief campaign is putting in sanitary products within the ration bags, which in the grocery bags that are supplied by different organizations. We are partnering with all sorts of organizations to support the menstruators across. As far as the government is concerned, there are people who would really want to partner with the government and make sanitary products available. The corporate sector is starting their COVID relief campaigns right now. As we speak, there are different organizations which are announcing that they are going to provide for free products, and there's a long way to go.
Thank you so much, Sumaira. I think it was very interesting how, this was something covered in Her Pakistan's social media page also. And if everyone could also look at their social media page after this, about how, COVID-19 frontline workers right now, when they're wearing the PPE garments, they're not allowed to remove it. And, the sanitary napkins that we use, reusable or otherwise, need to be changed at least for 4 hours every time, or even before that if you have heavy bleeding. And it was interesting how you link the use of menstrual cups, especially right now for frontline workers, considering that at least in Nepal, a lot of the frontline workers are, nurses, majority of them are women, and, they're spending majority of their time in hospitals and wearing PPEs. I think it was very interesting how you link the topic of menstrual cups to be used right now. And I think the COVID-19 pandemic and lockdown requires us to be more proactive with different types of menstrual health products other than pads. So thank you so much, Sumaira, for that. Next, we have our final speaker. We have Sonali from Sri Lanka. Sonali, requesting you to please unmute your mic. Before I go ahead with the question, I would also request the speakers to please have a look at the chat boxes. A few of you have been responding to the chats, to the questions asked by the participants via chat. However, we also have a 20-minute session for chat, for answering the questions by each speaker. Each speaker will be given only 2 minutes to answer their questions. So please pick at least at least one question if possible, and two to the max to respond in a span of 2 minutes. Coming back to Sonali, thank you so much for being here today. The question that we have for you is, what are some of the cultural traditions linked to menstruation in Sri Lanka that have negatively impacted the lives of young girls and women? Thank you so much.
Hi, thanks so much for giving me this opportunity to be part of this webinar. I'd just like to talk first a little bit about the organization. So I work for Family Planning Association Sri Lanka, and I'm the Director of Advocacy. Family Planning Association began in Sri Lanka in 1953. So it's a very, very old NGO, and it began as a volunteer base. We are part of the International Planned Parenthood Federation. So we are locally owned, but we are globally connected. The Family Planning Association explores innovative and challenging processes of family planning in Sri Lanka. We are the most expansive and well-known NGO in the country that focus on family planning and SRHR. Menstrual health, coming to the topic, is a topic that we are very interested in. We as an organization don't only specifically have programs related to menstrual health, but we address some of the issues and the cultural taboos that come through the whole menstrual health issue through our youth camps, our youth programs, and our comprehensive sexual education, which is widespread around the country. As in most of the countries in South Asia, Sri Lanka has a huge cultural taboo when it comes to menstrual health. Young girls often don't go to school during the time of their periods. Women are not allowed into threshing circles in the paddy fields because they're considered unclean. The word that is used in Sri Lanka for menstruation is a word called kili, which is actually a very derogative term. It means you're unclean. So you're not allowed to go into any religious areas. You're not allowed to go into places that are supposedly having men, or it will be really bad. It will be a bad omen for men, and that they may have an accident, or they may actually have something bad happening to them if they are associated with women who have periods. Given this very derogative time for women when they do have menstrual periods, we've gone a program for comprehensive sexual education in schools, where we're trying to work with both young boys and young girls to address this issue. And on the comprehensive sexual education, we are looking at gender because we feel one of the big points that we need to address is respect, trust, and building relationships between girls and boys. And we find that our young boys often make women, young girls, feel like they are inadequate when they have their periods. So we talk to them about what it feels like to actually be menstruating, and it's a natural process. But more than that, we also talk about how young boys have to respect women, young girls. And so our comprehensive sexual education program tries to bring in menstrual health in a bit of a broader aspect. And we mostly try to concentrate also on women, because young girls themselves feel very shy, and then they don't come to school, and we have this this thing where young boys say, if there is a little bit of blood on a girl's uniform, they call her Japan Kodia, which is a Japanese flag, which is a round red blob on a white surface. And so we use that to talk about respect and how bad that, we should not really have that type of attitudes when we are, working with, when they are with girls in their schools. So we don't have any specific programs on menstrual health, but most of our programs have this as a topic. As an organization, we also have been looking at the menstrual cup. We are a social enterprise organization. Most of our contraceptives are actually sourced, the private sector sources contraceptives from the Family Planning Association. So we source it to all the pharmacies. And the way we do that is through a social enterprise model. And all the money that comes in from the contraceptives are then pumped back into our organization. And it's given to a lot of the programs, and it goes back into society by different sort of programmatic plus our service centers. We have service centers around the country. We give free contraceptive services to women for a very, very small price. We do a lot of outreach work with women. We even go, our volunteers go to the houses with contraceptives at the moment since the COVID issue. We've also provided sanitary napkins to quarantine centers during this period. And we are working very closely with the Ministry of Health, our partner. The Family Health Bureau is very closely linked to Family Planning Association. And so our work is to advocate with them as well on providing sanitary napkins to a lot of areas that women can't reach at the moment. We also are the civil society partner for Family Planning 2020, FP 2020, and through the FP 2020 program, we're also using our opportunities of the youth camps, working with young people to promote better menstrual health. We would really like to link actually with some of these organizations that are doing work in producing sanitary napkins that are not a one-off thing, that we can actually then preserve our environment. Sri Lanka, I think, may be a little behind some of these other countries, but it has been very interesting for me to listen to how other countries and other organizations have taken on this to bring in the environmental aspect. And Family Planning Association would be very happy to partner with some of these organizations in providing reusable sanitary napkins and actually promoting it in our pharmacies, as part of our program. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sonali, and also for sort of joining the conversation of menstrual health with, with the SRHR program in totality. A lot of times we forget that menstrual health also comes part of this larger concept, and we need to be able to relate both of these. Especially a lot of times we also see, due to in Nepal especially, for example, women are not allowed to enter religious festivals or religious programs during their menstrual cycle, so they end up taking a lot of contraceptives or medicines to just postpone their periods or postpone their menstrual cycle. So thank you so much for getting this concept of. Also, congratulations for being an organization that has been established since 1953. That is definitely a huge round of applause to you and your team. And it's definitely an initiative which a lot of us would also like to, sort of look up to, and one day hopefully also say that we've been established for so long and we've been working with different generations and have an impact with in the community through a cross-generational approach. So thank you so much. I would now like to request all the speakers to look at the chat box once. Most of you have already answered the questions that were addressed to you. In case there are questions that are not addressed through the chat, and if you want to address them right now, each of you are being given 2 minutes of time. We would again go in the same order, in the alphabetical order, with Afghanistan being first. If there is nothing, you can just unmute your mic and say that you do not want to speak anything, and we will go to the next speaker. Thank you. Platform over to you, Zahida.
Okay, thank you. Just I want to know that many colleagues presented that they're producing sanitary napkin or handmade and washable pad. In Afghanistan, it is very difficult and challenging for the girls, same like Nepal, to go to the shop or to the supermarket to buy sanitary pad. Men will ask questions, and also this taboo, and girls are not encouraged in the rural community to go to the market and to buy and also there is a financial problem also. If we look at the income of the families, and in a family there is 2-3 girls, that the father is not able to pay the cost of the sanitary pad to buy from the market. Now we are trying to produce we are in conversation with the private sectors and NGOs to produce the handmade and reusable and washable pads. Then this in this area, I will be happy to learn from the experiences of the other countries, and later we will be in touch with the relevant colleagues from the different countries. Thank you.
Zahida, thank you. Next we have Munia. Munia, is there anything you'd like to address, put across once again? Giving the floor to you. Thank you.
I would like to talk about.
Munia, 1 second. Sorry. Can you?
Sorry. Yeah. So I'd like to talk about the menstrual cups thing. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of speakers here today who are talking about menstrual cups and more sustainable, environmentally sustainable products to be used during menstruation. So we were also kind of trying to promote menstrual cup in Bangladesh through our resources, and we even collaborated with a company in India. They're called Safe Cup. And we collaborated with them, and we got a few menstrual cups from them, and we also did a sampling session kind of thing, and we got a very positive feedback from people our generation and from a certain demographic, but we were kind of hoping to promote menstrual cup in a more widespread demographic. For example, someone in the chat was asking me about the menstruation problem in the garment sector, textile industry of Bangladesh, because that is one of the biggest industry we have, and mostly women are working there. So we wanted to opt towards more sustainable and environmentally friendly menstrual products like menstrual cups. But the response from that demographic was not as positive as the response we got from the demographic that is on our level, because there's a very big stigma, even bigger than the menstruation stigma, which is the stigma of the hymen being broken. So a lot of people are very unaware about the correlation between a hymen being broken and the relation and also the relation of the virginity and a menstrual cup. So yeah, those are the challenges we were facing, and that's why we couldn't even push through the menstrual cup idea to those people, because there were people who in the first place don't even use sanitary pads. They are still using dirty clothes and old rags, and they're still not aware of the idea of sanitary pads in the first place. So even pushing an idea like using menstrual cups was very challenging and hard. So that was something I wanted to put through.
I will have to cut you there. If that's possible, you can respond to the rest by
in the chat. Yes, sure thing.
Thank you, Munia. And I think you've brought out a very important issue about menstrual cups and the cultural challenges that are there, because we've also personally, as Pad2Go, we have faced some of that. And, you know, whenever we're trying to approach it, it's been difficult for us, and we're still learning, and hopefully we can learn more after this session. Going to our next speaker, Yangde from Bhutan. Yangde, do you have anything you'd like to put across or reply to? Kindly unmute your mic. Thank you. Yangde, requesting you again to kindly unmute your mic in case of any questions. If not, we will move on to the next speaker. We have Soumya from India. Soumya, is there anything you'd like to address or speak about within 2 minutes? Floor is given to you. Thank you. Moving on, Aminat from Maldives. Aminat, do you have anything that you would like to address with the speakers or the participants? It's 2 minutes. Floor is to you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Regarding the question that was arised, how we work to eliminate the menstrual taboo that is being existed in our society. Mainly what we have been doing is, as I have mentioned before, the safe space programs are mainly targeted to awareness sessions regarded to menstrual health taboo, and to cover the comprehensive sexuality educations. And also in our social media platforms, we do some kind of promotions regarding to menstrual health taboos. Yeah. And also, I would like to add there are some initiations during this year also from other women empowerment areas promoting the cloth pads to eliminate waste in the Maldives. And we have been seeing shifting in the use of cloth pads. And also I would like to highlight that the menstrual cups that is being used in the Maldives are mainly the girls who are in the sports activities. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Moving on to our next speaker, Sumanji. तपाईले के दुई मिनेटमा के छोटो राख्न चाहनुहुन्छ कि?
Thank you, Jaselina, and thank you all for giving the opportunity to speak here. And I have questions. We have a plan to organize a workshop for the create awareness among the government bodies. So after lockdown, we have a organize a workshop. Then also we release the press meet also. Then all the people understand about the LGBTI menstruation issues. So just we have that plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumanji, for letting us know about that. Hopefully, all of us here can be a part and supportive of your efforts. Going next to Shubhangi, is there something you'd like to address in 2 minutes? Floor is to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jaslina. So I would like to answer Anahita's question about using eco-friendly or reusable pads in our model. So the new goal for Pad2Go for 2020 is to provide biodegradable disposable pads in Nepal. And one of the reasons we're doing this is that, you know, it is accessible as well as affordable, and also a lot of people, especially in Nepal, especially both in the rural as well as urban area, can use. Now we're not focusing more towards, as of now, we're not focusing more towards the menstrual cups or the tampons because of a lot of social taboos and stigmas around it. And again, if we do that, it will be only constricted to the urban areas and not in the rural areas. Like we all know, the menstrual cups, we need to, you know, boil them in order to sterilize it. And in Nepal, one of the biggest taboos is not entering the kitchen. Again, with tampons, there's this other taboo that, you know, it breaks your hymen, due to which parents and families don't allow their daughters to use these tampons. The reason we're not really getting into the reusable pad model, especially the cloth pad, if that's what you're talking about, is because of the reason that these cloth pads need to be washed in order to sterilize them and in order to reuse them again. And what we've realized is, as both of us as working women in Kathmandu, it's not possible for us to use it. An example, you know, when you're in office and you suddenly have to, like, you know, change your pad because you're bleeding a lot, it's not possible to enter the toilet and start washing your pads. Similarly, in the rural areas where we work, you know, with one of the organizations who were taking this initiative forward and talking about reusable pads, one of the young girls came to us and told us that they were not really comfortable with reusable pads because, again, they had to walk to school for, like, you know, 1 to 2 hours every day. They had to sit in school, they had to participate, run around, and this itself was not, you know, feasible for them, due to which there was this fear and this awkwardness around them just because of menstruation. And this is something we obviously are not okay with, due to which we will be including eco-friendly, biodegradable, disposable pads really soon.
Angi, I'd like to stop you there, please. Your 2 minutes is over. Requesting you
to just answer the rest in the chat box then.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Sumaira from Pakistan. Sumaira, is there anything you'd like to add or respond to within 2 minutes, please? Thank you. Over to you.
I don't really have anything to respond to, but I would really like to take this opportunity to say that since the entire South Asian region somehow faced a similar kind of taboos and stigma, and it is similar across, it is like constant for across the region, I would just like to say that similar kind of strategies work in Pakistan and similar kind of strategies work in Nepal or Maldives or maybe in Bangladesh. So there is a huge opportunity for all of us as organization working in this sector to come together and make things better for across the region.
Thank you so much, Sumaira. I think you've put across a very, very pertinent issue. And one of the main reasons for us to start, this webinar with all 8 South Asian countries present and talking about menstrual health was also for future collaborations amongst all of us or any of us. So thank you so much for highlighting that. And I hope we'd be able to take that forward. Coming to our last speaker, Sonali, is there anything you'd like to address, respond to? You have 2 minutes, please. Thank you.
Hi, I would just like to respond to the question on social enterprise. The reason I think I would like to just respond to that question is because FPA has been so successful with the social enterprise in Sri Lanka. And one of the reasons I feel is because we have actually got the majority market, and that has been something that has been built over the years. So our true products, Mituri and Preeti, Mituri, which is the pill, and Preeti, which is the condom, it's almost a household name all over. So if people go to buy condoms, they'll say, well, we're going to buy Preeti, and if they're going to buy a pill, they're going to buy a Mituri. So I think to try to help social enterprise with other organizations is to build that sort of majority in the market where your name becomes a household name is really good. The other thing about the whole social enterprise is the massive, we have a huge department that works in every part of the country. So we access all pharmacies in every part of this country. So therefore it is accessible. So not just that people want the product, it's accessible at a very, very reasonable price. Because we are buying so much and producing so many condoms and pills and emergency pills, we are able to sell it at a very, very, very low price. And that has been the key to our success.
Thank you so much, Sonali, for highlighting how, as a social enterprise, you've been able to be so successful and so effective for so many years. And I think also something that you really importantly highlighted was, having a household name of your product and, getting it at a very low cost. And this itself is an important impact of your business model. And in terms of the social model, you had also mentioned how you are taking back the funds from contraceptives that are being fluctuated back into your organization and using it for a lot of social work. So thank you so much for also highlighting the impact of social enterprises. And now we'll come to the end of our program. Thank you to everyone who has been a very, very important part of this program. We are very thankful that all 8 South Asian countries were able to be present today. Shubhangi, me, and our entire Pad2Go team comprising of our 2 interns, Sukirti and Arpana, we've been working on this for almost a month now. Thank you so much to everyone who's been present and made this talk so successful. I would also like to add a few insights of myself as the moderator today. I think a lot of issues came about in terms of the COVID situation, issues that women and menstruating individuals face right now, issues that urban women face, issues that rural women face, issues that menstruating individuals face. And I think this was something of an important conversation for us to begin, because Shubhangi and I, as a Pad2Go team, we've been trying to focus on menstruating individuals rather than just menstruating women. And I think with this, with Sumanji also being present here and him saying that, there is going to be a lot of efforts after the COVID pandemic in Nepal and after the lockdown situation where a lot of transgender men's issues are going to come out in the menstrual health sector. We really look forward to that. I would also request all 9 speakers to I request them to be open to a lot of new opportunities amongst us. I think, as Sumaira said, this itself has been a platform for us to get to know each other, our works, the challenges that we face, and to learn from each other, more importantly. So thank you so much for everyone being present here. Pad2Go team will be in touch with all 9 speakers very shortly. We have something more exciting coming up for the International Menstrual Health Day, which is on 28th of this month, which is next week. So thank you so much for everyone being present here. Thank you for all the wonderful questions from the participants. I saw a lot of men also being part of this conversation, and I'm very thankful that the word got out to men to be able to be part of this conversation. And I hope this conversation is able to reach everyone. We will also be sharing the recording of this conversation on International Menstrual Health Day, so that people who are not able to join in on this conversation can also learn from it. So thank you so much for your participation. Thank you so much for your time. Please stay safe during these unprecedented times. And thank you once again for being able to collaborate with Pad2Go and for giving Pad2Go this opportunity to connect with all of you. Thank you so much.